Hello, my name's James Hughes and this is mine and Abraham Tejikasuma's video on our 5-week fast bowling training regime. The volume of training will be 2 45-minute sessions per week for 5 weeks. The practice type will be predominantly massed repetitive part practice, which is considered to be most effective in the acquisition of a discrete motor skill. Session 1 started with a real-time demonstration by an autonomous fast bowler. We thought this would be highly beneficial for Abraham, who we had previously identified as a visual learner. Before practice commenced, Abraham completed a pre-test of 6 bowls. His aim in this test was to alternate between full and short pitch zones for each ball. This test was used firstly as an indication of his current level of skill, and secondly as a reference point for his progress throughout the regime. This is a pitch map of Abraham's pre-test. Red balls represent a failure to pitch the ball in the target zone, and blue balls are indicative of a successful bowl. Practice commenced with Abraham simply standing at the crease and continuously bowling the ball as accurately as possible. This reduced initial task complexity, but still allowed him to get used to the bowling motion. A few obvious technical flaws with his motion that were later addressed at the start of session 2 through verbal feedback were his overly rounded arm action, lack of follow through, and falling away at the crease rather than staying tall. It should be noted here that each session from week 2 onwards began with 10 minutes of video analysis and feedback on both the positive and negative aspects of Abe's action in the session prior. Session 2 practice followed the same features as Session 1 practice, with a greater emphasis placed on direction as well as length. As can be seen here, Abe's action is already visibly straighter and more compact. Session 3 and 4 followed virtually the same routine, with the bowler now being introduced to the hop element of the bowling action. At the start of each session, both positive and negative feedback were given regarding the session prior. Feedback tended to be based on knowledge of performance rather than knowledge of results. Before the introduction of the run-up, Abraham measured out his run-up by striding away from the crease and hopping into the motion when comfortable. Sessions 5 and 6 were the first sessions of practice that incorporated all aspects of the bowling motion. Ball pitching aim was alternated between short and full deliveries to reduce context dependence. Session 7 was divided into 2 separate sections of practice. The first half of the session followed the same format as the session prior, except as a new challenge, one of the 3 stumps were removed. This was to maintain learner motivation. The second half of the session was a novel task whereby Abe was required to flick the ball continuously at a wall, with emphasis being placed on maintaining upright seam position. This served as both a variable training session and hopefully would result in a positive learning transfer to the actual bowling motion. Session 8 was once again whole practice of fast bowling. However, this time the pitching target was left to the discretion of the bowler. This allowed for a reduction in feedback, which is seen as beneficial as a learner's skill level increases. In comparison to his pre-test, Abraham had become exponentially more accurate and consistent with his action. Sessions 9 and 10 were both massed whole practice. This time a batsman was introduced to the session, with the obvious goal being to get the batsman out. This provided extra motivation and a reduction in the likelihood of context dependence. By these sessions, Abraham was bowling very proficiently, and his final post test at the conclusion of week 10 demonstrated this progression.
Oh, that was right at my face.
As can be seen here, Abraham achieved all but one of his target pitch zones in his post test, a notable improvement on his pre-test. It should be noted that the direction of his balls was also much straighter. This is most likely due to amendments in technical flaws in his actions since week 1.
Training sessions were a little bit too monotonous, which would sometimes affect motivation levels. Some more variety in the training would have helped rather than repetitive bowling sessions. More visual and auditory teaching methods explaining joint angles and body positions would have helped to explain the skill with more precision. Overall, the training showed significant improvement between the pre-test and post-test, with bowls being more consistent and with a greater amount of pace. I still struggled with the run-up and hop into the crease, mainly due to a lack of practice, although the bowling action felt more comfortable and natural after the training program.
Overall, I found my experience coaching Abraham to be a positive one. However, I did find it challenging to break up the bowling motion into separate training sessions, while still maintaining variety and reducing the monotony of the task. Whilst the training definitely saw a marked improvement in Abe's bowling, I feel a less motivated individual would have grown bored and given up on the task. My future coaching endeavours could perhaps benefit from more research into the variety of drills available when teaching fast bowling. I would also facilitate more breaks throughout the session, providing a greater emphasis on distributed practice. Thank you for watching our video.